not? But we got you helping, and Patty, that's the start.
Well, I've had the... can you hear me okay?
I can hear you lovely. I'm going to have a little bit of reverb here. I've got severe computer problems here. I'm on my backup right now.
Oh, the old... well, I've been sending lots of text... I'm recording now. I've had lots of text messages which haven't happened. And that's why we've had a bit of a problem today, because people, for the last 2 weeks, haven't received messages. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's a plot. But it's actually a pain in the ass, really.
I know. I've got my text messages and emails. Well, I should say emails are sometimes taking anywhere from 5 minutes to 24 hours to reach the individual, or not at all.
Well, I'm sorry, but my time limit's been more than yours. Okay. 24 hours, talk about 3 days.
No, I know. We've had it where I've sent stuff to Pattie Brassard in 3 different days. It's happening.
Is this to do with some kind of atmospheric thing or some other damn thing?
Well, I think we're looking, it's not just one or the other. You're looking at government interference. You're looking at alien interference, obviously. And I've actually sent emails and, 7 emails and gone down to see the individual 3-4 hours later, and they haven't received it. We are actually having text messages going between different parties that never sent them. So they're trying to the AI and stuff, almost trying to engage people into arguments when it's never been the individual as well. So I've seen almost everything right now we're editing. And Pattie and many of the special forces have been changing the frequencies on the planet, and we're seeing lots of very exciting things. I've seen exoplanets, several of them in the last week. And actually one that we followed coming inbound and then was able to catch on 3-4 cameras, Belgium, France, and Crete in Greece, ended up blowing up there by Istanbul in Turkey. And they said it was a NATO terrorist thing, but it really wasn't. We saw a battleship come in. And so these things are affecting the atmosphere, but I'm not going to chalk this kind of stuff up to, my text getting changed and everything else. And, getting up when, it was like 8 or 9 o'clock, and having marks all over my neck. I mean, yeah.
I saw that on a recent one. Was that Ascension or the late night in the Midlands?
That would have been the LNN late night in the Midlands, which we're no longer doing, obviously. But
no, I don't know about that. What's happened?
Yeah. Well,
or is it something you want to talk about on this? I
wish I knew. I really wish I knew. I mean, you don't get up and have your shoulder kind of thrown out and pain in the abdomen like you've been tossed around like a sack of potatoes. And then we had the genius. So I had Dr. Ariel Policano as well. So I had my skill biofeedback genius. We were picking...
What I'd like to dedicate this section to.
Okay.
Because I want to put it together concise. Late Night in the Midlands is a great show, 6 hours. How do you feel about that? I mean, obviously I'm recording, so I don't want to... what's happened? We're talking August 8th here.
Right.
We're actually, in British time, it's August the 9th.
All right.
Okay, so you're safe. It's not the Lion's Gate.
Yeah, last time that showed up, I had Lucas go through to the Queen to Paul in their city of London to take my proclamation. It's actually could be a great day.
Proclamation thing. I've got my product placement. I can't even get the damn thing.
Yeah.
Sunday Wire. Have you heard of the Sunday Wire? I've got to keep close to this mic, otherwise it doesn't.
No, I haven't.
A guy called Patrick Headington, a UK-American journalist, doing a lot of really hard work on the alternative side of things, and it's he's doing a lot of good work. So I'm happy to promote. I'll cut myself up there. That's Patrick Headington, the Sunday Wire radio show.
Okay.
And if I get that up somewhere, it'll be on a camera. There. Get the right
camera.
Yeah,
awesome.
the right camera.
Yeah, you asked if I want to talk about it. All I did is I got up and we noticed these marks and stuff in here. And we did, Dr. Ariel Policano and myself ran different scans. We were able to determine it was some sort of unknown viruses and biofilms that we see quite often. This will show up. We can start looking for Morgellons on these type of things. Black sentient goo. We've programmed in actually stuff like remedies, like the Solmac and stuff, which I finally got after 8 months. You know, Health Canada confiscated it at the border and customs, but we're getting the Solmac Nushador through here, so I'm really excited about that. So,
I mean, we know why they would do that, but what I want you to do is tell us why they would do that to actually explain it in words.
Right. In fact, you can still see the stickers are still on there. They've opened it up and held it for like 8 months. Solmac was something, it shows up in the yellow spectrum. It's normally known as a volcanic sublimase, and it's used a lot in salty licorice, you know, as people know, in Stockholm and Europe and stuff like that. And it was apparently made really illegally. It's been taken out of the, you know, organic spectrum. What it would be doing, according to Pattie Brassard, as the sublimase, it's gyroscopic, so it would start repairing from the 2 strands, like Lloyd Pye talks about, into a triple strand. And then it would bind with the phosphorus and take us from a negative pole to a positive pole. So it would, you know, reinsure the security of the 3rd strand and stopping basically Agenda 21, which would, you know, reestablish our 21st chromosome, which is really our ability to self-repair and overcome any of the stuff.
Explain that. What I'm trying to do here is, for people who haven't a clue, why would they suggest this is happening? I know there's a lot of people know what you're talking about. What I want you to do is try to explain it in such a way which that's the purpose of what I'm trying to do, to make it to any brick thick or programmed person, can understand what is actually happening here.
Right. Well, as a medical practitioner and a former nurse, what happens is that a lot of the vaccines programs, and there was something called the Project Panther Project, Human Genome Project from the NCBI. So a lot of when they were assembling and putting DNA strands together, these ET aliens or cabals, whatever we want to say, Dracos and stuff, they split the DNA. So if you could almost, in a simplistic term, think that everyone's actuality almost like bipolar, and until you have the triple strand, almost like a teepee, you know, things you can't, the soul can't ascend up. It prevents the ascension. So you're kind of blocked, and again, with that 3rd chakra, a yellow color spectrum of what this mineral is, it's actually an ammonium chloride, but it's basically known as Nushador, and that's where I found it very available for everyone, because we had a hard time trying to find it. But on eBay and Amazon, if you look at Nushador, Nousdar, you can get it very easily. But where you are, we finally got it in. But Solmaki, because I'm a raw foodist, just taking a little pinch of this every day is enough to start getting. It's like used for dry cell batteries. So if you think of what it's really doing, it's a tissue salt that you're missing. So, you know, you need to have that into place to really get the 3rd strand into place so that we can deal with what's coming up. So that's a simple term, because I was listening to you with Peter Paget and stuff, and that's why I called you a little bit about the radiation levels that we're seeing globally stuff. And that's where Pattie comes in. That's where Pattie's coming in.
Peter is representing a North Atlantic independent intelligence group.
Right.
And he claims to be Pleiadian, I think, 50% or something like that. And so there's a lot of issues there. So, and he's been heavily criticized. I'm trying to be devil's advocate here. He's been heavily criticized by some sources that he isn't what he says he is. But I mean, this radiation stuff, I was sitting here Saturday afternoon and my Geiger counter went off the scale. Something, and I immediately thought of Pattie, thinking maybe some kind of craft had blown up and its nuke went off. But it lasted about possibly 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes before it died down. And that hasn't happened too many times. It has happened a number of times for other reasons, but there is something going on, and we want to figure out solutions rather than not eat anything anymore.
I agree. I'm totally for that. That's why, you know, a lot of what I've been doing, like, I mean, whether people laugh at it or not. I mean, there's entire books on what we talked about the other day with the steaming and stuff. I did do it L&M, prior to being really interrupted. But what happened is that these steaming units for men and women is you're taking all your herbs and your oils and your salts and you're steaming it at the root chakra. And anyone with any intelligence, that's why all the tribes have done this sort of vaping. I don't care if you use cannabis in here. It's phenomenal.
I've had some people, Dutch people, who've been discussing that very herb.
It's huge. It's huge. And they use a lot of motherwort, whatever. I've been putting the Solmac in different salts. You can use crystals. It's got a tourmaline ceramic thing. And that's a professional steamer. I mean, this is used all over the place. And what happens in about 20 minutes, it opens up what's called the hemorrhoidal vein. But once it goes in, it's like mainlining. So it bypasses, just like using rectal suppositories or vaginal suppositories. It's going directly into the bloodstream. And so it's bypassing the liver and all the other functions. So we've been having phenomenal success. So what I've been doing is using these geniuses that we can put into anyone's hands. So what Ryan Williams has done, who was actually involved with the skill biofeedback in the life system 15 years ago when I was involved with them, he set up the Vancouver Island office, and I must have just missed him within weeks. But he's gone on to develop this software so that we could put it onto anyone's iPad or iPhone or the tablet, the Samsung.
I'm talking the green screen little CPM computers. We had people in London under the arches in Camden making electrical devices which could work on those very, very early computers.
Yeah.
And this is something related to that. It's psychotronics or what? I'm interested in what sort of technology is involved, or what would you call it? How does this thing work?
It's scalar wave technology. It really is. It's the same thing like the skill biofeedback that I had with Dr. Bill Nelson. So we're dealing with the different sine waves, and this one is actually totally programmable. Actually, like if I go into here in the settings, and look at the frequency, shape, and form, you can actually start programming in whether you want the sine wave, the square wave, the sawtooth wave, like whatever you want to go into for intensity. So it's kind of like a handheld, converted, customized Royal Rife machine.
Well, I have one of those machines here, and that's exactly the kind of waveform we're talking about. And various frequencies and types of that. But how do we know what they're not causing harm? How do we know we're getting it right?
Well, that's always a great thing. It's again, we know that the government or different cabal forms or whatever, different ET alien groups are using HARP and everything else for that. So it's the same type of technology. It's just how you're using it and applying it. Myself, I can speak why I got excited about this one, because literally I was lying down, and let's say due to things and whatever with the diastasis recti or whatever, the bladder starts going, organs start going and stuff like that. I actually felt it the very first couple minutes go right to the bottom of my feet, which is right where the bladder is, which means it's very, very deep. Whatever it was going to heal, it felt like not an acupuncture needle, but pretty close. And I could feel the tingling going on. And then right where I broke my ankle in 3 spots, Miles, it literally went to where the break fracture was 4 years ago.
Now, is this a left fracture, left heel?
Yeah, I did 3. Isn't that amazing?
This is, you wouldn't believe it, but the number of people I know in this business, women, who've had left heel fractures, and they're blaming it on the menopause, all sorts of things, but they've had very serious issues, and this is beyond coincidence.
Oh, no, it's huge. Like, when I slipped on the ice in the kidneys, at least I did it in front of Dr. Carolyn DeMarco's place. She's a medical doctor that's actually integrative medicine. Does a lot of stuff out there with the medical marijuana and stuff, but nonetheless, she used to be one of the first Young Living with Dr. Gary Young, one of his trainers. So I was going out there to do some stuff when I slipped on the ice. So that was the end of me going anywhere. For 6 weeks, I hung from the ceiling because I refused to use the medical system. So I actually literally healed all these fractures by myself and with groups of friends. So we actually reset it and that's what we did when we moved the bones. I just started meditating. I got right into such a deep state. Got to do that.
Karen, we have a vision here of vampires hanging off the ceiling and meditating, doing an thing? How do you actually hang off the ceiling with a broken foot? What's involved here?
What's involved there? One of my best friends, Fritz. Yeah. Literally.
Feeling, because I've had it stretches everything. It's natural.
How did I actually hang? Literally. We made traction. So Fritz Van Itzen, actually, he was out of Amsterdam, was there. They literally put a 2x4 up the side of the wall, over the ceiling, put C-hooks in, large ones, your C-rings, and we got pieces of rope, and we got a splint that you would get from the ski hill. So the naturopathic doctor brought me that. And then my girlfriend cut up her little, sheep's wool from the car. And I literally kept it open, and I put essential oils on it every day. And we used the biofeedback. So, and then it was through meditation, we put back the bones all together. And in about 6 weeks, I put what's called a poultice of clays and dirts and something we called comfrey, which is bull knit. So I literally can do dancing, and whether it's Russian dancing or tribal dancing or belly dancing, that foot. And it was in 3 spots, Miles. It was actually, you wouldn't know, but 1 here and then 2 on this side. So literally they told me I would lose the foot and it would be like a clot and everything else. And they didn't know if I'd make it through the surgery. It was that bad. So I didn't like their options. I did my own. But
this is very serious. That I know 3 or 4 people who've gone through this. There's a girl we know in this business. She's called Victoria. You may see her in other forms, but she's got a really seriously broken foot. She lives in Theatreland in central London. Yeah. Her flat is the 5th one on the top. It's between 2 big theatres in central London. She has to go up all these stairs. She's got a fracture, just something like what you've just described. And this is happening to 3, 4, 5, 6 people. What is happening here? Is there some kind of a hit happening here, or what?
Well, I know I've had people say that they thought it was something cabal. They were sending some sort of a frequency to knock me off. But I mean, I'll just chalk it up to whatever. I slid on the ice. But the left foot also represents your standing, being able to feel supported and stuff. And if you go to bones and breaking bones, when you use the Dr. Carolyn Mean approach, like Louise Hayes or EFT and tapping, it basically comes, again, the ankle and the bones from not having clarity and a fear of rebelling against the authority. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So I grabbed as much birch oil as I possibly can, and always still keep a bottle with me. But I will tell you, once I started using it and applying it and trying to get this emotional thing, I was attacking it from any angle I could. And I will tell you that I went to a drum circle right after, and the first thing my girlfriend said, she goes, you're really, really clear. And I went, I don't know, at some level, she picked up something, because that was the affirmation I used all that day was, we are clear, I am clear, put more, birch oil on, essential oil on. So there's got to be something to a lot of this. The left ankle, like I said, it's on the feminine side or mother's. Now, what it does do, and I will tell you, like my 2 teeth shifted right after at the bottom. And you can see where it went out of place from not feeling supported. So that whole entire, like almost tooth meridian shifted my entire dental palate here from that break. And that's huge, because trying to get energy back to people on reconnections through their, what they want to say, the mtDNA or the mother side is huge. So there's a lot of things that need to be corrected. It's not just an ankle, it's the entire meridians all the way through. And that's like going back to the beginning of time and resetting your entire, I don't want to say belief system, but your entire support system.
Well, I hear you on this. This is, this is really serious, because there's somebody I know who works on energy systems. She's registered by the Nuffield Institute, which seems to, in the UK, seems to be, I don't want to get sued, but basically Kathy Morgan's work on that is pretty alarming. And she's been deregistered as an energetic healer for the National Health Service. Right. There's another individual, I was actually in a particular environment. I got hit on the left heel. This is all talking about the left heel, and I almost lost my Achilles tendon by a robot thing that went wrong. So I'm just seeing too many connections here, and it seems very alarming. So you've got solutions to this, so let's hear it.
Well, this is really what it was. I had studied with Dr. Richard Bartlett of Matrix Energetics. So very much mind over matter. I'd studied with, Dr. Len Horowitz and Dr. Gary Young from Young Living Essential Oils here. So I had all the tools into place. And there is a lot to be said. I know with Dr. Gary Young, when I went firewalking, you can defy anything. You can put things into place. So one is being aware of what it is. The second thing is at that time I had the skill biofeedback. So like this handheld unit, I could identify the bones, the meridians, the target, and get the right frequencies. Because we were dealing on bones and stuff, very dense things, we needed to go down into that 46 hertz, 42, 46 hertz. And you got to remember a lot of that stuff too is when people start losing their energy or their life, we couldn't see a little signal. My EEG and my EKG was going flat.
What you're saying is resonating so heavily with the people I know. Something really big's going on here.
It is. And right now, I will tell you, I might have this cute little steamer like that, but that's what it looks like, the color, the steam of the actual environment. And that stuff Pattie's been doing is having a huge effect. And the Schulman residency, as you know, with the Heart Math Institute, has gone from 7.838 right now. It's been spiking up by Edmonton, 6 hours away from me. It went to 1,000 and 1,200 at one point. Now, they did take it off the air.
A friend of mine has said exactly that, totally independently, so I'm really fascinated by that.
Yeah, they actually took it off the air. We were watching what we were doing, and like you said, even what happened to you on Saturday night. Well, I know what happened on Saturday night because I was up with Pattie Brassard watching the military version of the International Space Station. So we saw these things coming in.
We all ran out. We had a look. I actually had a joke with the people here that's one of them, and they said, "What do you mean one of them?"
Yeah, well, more importantly is the cover-up that happened, because we saw it from start to finish, kind of like my CERN days, But that's what happens, is that, there's always a cover story.
See that. A, where can they see that report? And B, what happened?
The only place you can see that probably is on my Facebook, and Commander Pattie Brassard's on Facebook. I happened to have been, they were so busy involved. I was the only one that happened to take screenshots or photo shots while it was going on, a couple of us. So I did put it on Facebook, and they did actually shut down the Heart Math Institute as well for 24 hours, and then they put in a fake one. So if you go to our Facebook, for some reason, they're still allowing this on. So what I'm going to do, too, while I'm talking, because I do have you on, Miles, I'm just going to start a new analysis for you, if that's okay.
Oh, my God.
Can I help you? Let us help you. Let's help each other.
I'm going to change the lights to blue on this one. Okay, go ahead.
So we're just going to have you say A-E-I-O-U. Just say A-E-I-O-U. I'm going to let you talk for
E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U.
Perfect. Got a voice print. So you got a voice print, as you know. So if we have a virus or a bacteria or anything that goes on, something is going to be sucking our energy. So when we start getting this archonic stuff and predatory pandemic or pathnogenic or artificial intelligences, they have their own consciousness, they have their own signals and everything else. And I had an old picture from you. Every time I take one, I don't want to say old, but I'm going to turn around and make another quick one because I think it's great. You got a great smile for me right there, right? Yeah, okay, so we got a great smile. There's your new one. And again, I try and get this, with someone's voice and everything else as often as we can. And like I've got 4 years that can do this. This isn't rocket science. So again, it's got an energetic signature of the aura. So it's another form of an aura scan, and it's just doing it now. And I wanted to show this to people because it's this simple. We do not have to make medicine complicated. You wanted simple things. It doesn't get any simpler than this. We have a red button. It's like hit new analysis. And so basically we're able to use this and start customizing any radionic device. That means any phone or mobile or Wi-Fi. And then it's going to come up with 30 different departments. So it's like going to the naturopath doctor going, oh, I'd like to see my auric doctor. Oh, I want to see my herbologist here. So it says there's some emotionals, or maybe you're into Bach flowers and you want to look at Bach flowers. It will tell you the remedies right away based on your chemistry. Bach flower is actually floral or essences, basically, and they're actually distilled in a different way. So they're like a homeopathic remedy. It's basically what it is.
I don't understand. I'm an engineer who deals with things. I need these kind of things explained as if I'm completely thick as a brick. But I'm only speaking from an audience point of view in terms of a neutral advisor.
Right. That's great. No, I appreciate that.
He said, using a slightly vague voice.
Basically, it's herbs that are stuck in. Usually they stick them in distilled, either brandy or alcohol. as a homeopathic. So it's referred to as flower block or Bach flower remedies. So otherwise, what we come up with you is botsuella, which is obviously it's frankincense, and licorice root and burdock, and I guess you need to be like, that's the holy, the chaste tree. I think it's cool in there. Arnica, and could be bear clan. There's their bearberry. Anyway, when we actually...
I find I've got a garden here full of herbs, and I'm beginning to take them, and the difference in energy that I've got afterwards is amazing.
It's huge. And what it is the deeper the root... Okay, the deeper the root is on a tree, that's why we're using a lot of essential oil trees. Lemon tree, lime tree, chocolate tree, frankincense tree. So they pick up deeper minerals, almost like ormus. Think of it, the trees pick up the monatomic or the very nano or the very smallest kind of minerals that you can. And so we're really going for the spring water, because the spring water is like a photonic water. It's different than tap or anything else that's been bastardized or, treated. So, or purified, which means the opposite. So what happens is that once you start picking these substances up, you're going to naturally feel a little bit better. And especially if you grow it yourself and you're using heirloom seeds as opposed to organic seeds or GMO'd or something, you're going to get much more nutrient dense type of nutrition. And again, it's about a reconnection, but we know because of the radiation, you're best to be going for different things that are in with the trees. So that's going to be stuff like berries, chocolate. Shaga is huge. We've got a lot of people doing shaga mushroom tea. And everyone, it's like going out to forage. If you've ever been out with me, you can go out to a birch tree, and there's this thing that looks like a wart. I don't know if you've ever seen it. There it is. Okay, so this is called shaga, or tshaga in Russian. And there's a great dissertation by David Wolf. In fact, he's the first and probably only one to make a book on shaga, actually. And these can just be, again, these conchs can be taken right off the tree, dropped into water, let it steam, put your other herbs and stuff, and you're going to start getting all the ormus out of here. This is great for cancer and radiation. And that's the same thing.
Wonderful girl called Elizabeth Senendi, who is selling ormus through bases, so it's important. She's an African lady and she was into she did the health show on David Icke's station, so that's just...
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, though, you can use this type of thing and actually use Himalayan salt or Celtic salt and put it with the spring water, and you're going to get 11 monatomic natural ormuses anyway. So for those people that want to get it easily, is you can just actually use Soleil, which is taking Himalayan salt and putting it with a cup of water, let it sit there, just keep a little bit of the, rock down there, and just drink that saline every day. It's got ormus in it naturally. And
hold on here. You said 11 different ormuses. Now, I thought there was just one. Where do we get this? What happens? What names are there? What do they do?
Well, the interesting thing, actually, probably the best book is actually called Water and Salt. And it's actually by Dr. Barbara Handel. So this book is also available to anyone. But what you do is you actually take that Himalayan salt, mix it with a glass of water, and you're drinking the saline water, not just throwing this on your food. What it does is it will show you the 84 minerals and monatomics that come out. And so if people want, this is on YouTube. This is not rocket science, but that's actually do-it-yourself at-home ormus. Okay, so that's what I have all my clients on, is they've got to have at least a couple teaspoons, and we drink it. It's not only for grounding, but the entire book's are in here. Like, it's got exactly like 3-4 pages here just of all the ormus and your monatomics and noble elements. Okay, so if people want to look that up, that's the analysis of actually what Himalayan crystal salt water is. I'm trying to make this simple.
Yeah, is that on Amazon, or there's other booksellers available, I'm sure?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it shows you all the different minerals. I mean, if you need a graph out. So, I mean, it's in here. It's got the plutonium, the uranium, it's thorium. It's got everything in here. Gold, silver, whatever you're using for monatomic. So they actually can go into that, where the isotopes go into that state easily. So anyway, I really recommend looking at that. Just go onto YouTube, and we tell you how to make Soleil in here. So anyway, but one of the things is that it's really important because we need to develop the shields and we need to get alkalized. So whether people are using baking soda every day, a couple teaspoons, that only cuts it for a little while. And I did find
can that not affect your stomach acid and things? I mean, is there a problem with that?
No, there's not really a problem. It's meant to only be done for a couple months, though, because it does throw a little bit of electrolytes. But I mean, it'd take months to do that. You got to remember, we can have a client or a patient, as people think, in a coma and keep them on basically IV solutions, which is with that. There is a substance, I found the best one I can get from getting people from that really acidic state with their litmus paper. They can get at any health store or on Amazon. Feel like Vanna Wright. Pick the right one.
Other ways of getting the stuff, we need to emphasize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you can go to health stores, you can go to Amazon, you can use meters and stuff, but we test our saliva first thing at 6 or 7 in the AM and urine and saliva. And you should be coming up into these nice darker colors. It's like going to chakras. I don't want to be in the 3rd chakra where it's yellow. I want to be up into the purple is where it's, the crown's activated, where your soul's moving, where those minerals are coming up that we can test and see the difference. So that is called litmus paper. And so that's something people can do to shift their own pH. And I think that's a huge thing because it's so simple. I mean, we don't make it complicated. I was just on a call with for 3 hours with Pattie Brassard to some people on the West Coast. And I said, what it's doing, she's saying, it's frying out the nanotech. You have to realize, she said, is that the nano and this kind of AI can only self-replicate in an acidic. It lives off acidic conditions. So if you want to quit being a host, that's the idea, is get out of the acidic state where all this, the alcohol, the breads, the coffee, all those things, animals, poultry, chicken, all that down here. Well, there's a way to do alkaline coffee, but we have to give you some substitutes. But instead of dairy milk, start making some almond milk or start making some hemp seed milk. And literally, that's the difference between here and here. That's the difference between we're going to bury you, and that's you get to stay with the rest of us up here. And that pH is exactly the same thing as the chakras, whichever way you want to look at it, that way, I guess. Anyway, but we don't need, and like she said, what are they doing? The Anshars and the Archons, they're harvesting people. When they call neutrality, that's also hits the emotions. And that's going to be your fear, your trusting, your neutrality. This is where you get into love, joy, bliss, excitement, state up here, community. So that's where the gamma's up there, the indigo. We've raised the bar that far. So, I mean, people that need to be, hanging on here have got to be grounded with everything. And that's where the chocolate comes in. Seriously, raw cacao is that color. It's an indigo food. So, I wanted to see what we could be doing and then get everyone's individual, let's say if you need Botsawella, well, then we're just going to actually highlight it here and we're going to put it into our little Rife box or it's like a shopping thing. You drop and drag and then literally just hit play. And it's going to start sending you the frequencies of that. And if you want to listen to it and you really get a nice head buzz, you'll have it in your headphones. So there isn't anything I can't look at, from meridians to whatever. And you can play just your herbs for half an hour. You can play just whatever, whether you just want to do the testing for your own knowledge. I think that's really important.
This is actually really, really important because, to be blunt, I'm not getting any younger. But the kind of technology this has to appeal to has to be the young generation, the people who are really into apps and all this kind of stuff.
That's why we did it this way, and that's why I'm on board with this. And they've already endorsed it, and we've already done the protocol. So I'm actually doing the stuff for the Yoni's themes, or we call it Putkin, for crap's sakes. Yoni's an Eastern term. We call it Putkin, or Indians called it Bannock up here. But whether you call it a vag, or a hip, or a chayok, or a banjeras, or bateros, or banjo, I don't care what we call it in whatever language, we need to be getting it done. And steaming the herbs and stuff is actually much better. So what I tell people, if you want, take 1 cup, take it orally, and take the other 2 and sit on it. That's it. That's 10 minutes a day. It's not rocket science.
Or raid the antique stores for commodes.
Well, don't laugh. They're nice ones. You should see, if people really want to see all the stuff, I did a whole thing. There's a Getty Museum of Toilets and Commodes on how to do this. I actually found clay pots. Well, that's what they were doing with for thousands of years ago. But on here, they can go to my Kira MacDonald, go to the photos, go to my albums, and Miles, just go into the videos. I've got literally teaching people how to make these yoni pearls and things like that. These are actually put into the vagina or into the anus, either for guy 24 hours or for women 3 days at a time. And we've got women that are pulling out and pulling fibroids, breast cancer tumors, things that are getting stuck, and things are coming out that look like, basically, I would call it like a jellyfish. We're imploding stuff out. So don't discount this until you've tried this, and this has got, thousands of years.
Some kind of etheric jellyfish which then materializes out as...
I have no idea. That my clients are just sending me the pictures, and it looks, anyone that's got any, seriously, if you got a finger, go to Google and just put yoni pearls, YONI, put pearls and then put images. You be the judge. And I know what's coming out of me and my clients. This is amazing, and steaming this up. So, like I said, if I needed to know the best essential oil for you, it's an app, right? So, in fact, Dr. Ariel Palacano is on right now. I don't know if you want to add her in, but it's rare that you get all of us together. So, would you like to? I could probably... Okay. Let me just add you in. There's no time like the present, and I love surprising people. Okay. I'll just say for her. She's on, so we're going to just add her in here. I think you've got her on your contact. If not, I think I can probably drag her in. And then there's always the Patty Master. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. And Ariel's been at this, by the way. I've been doing biofeedback for 15 years, but Ariel has been doing this. I think you're going to have to bring her in. It's not letting me add her in. She's been doing this for 4 or 5. Yeah, she's been doing this for at least 5 years. And she's a naturopathic doctor out of, there we go. It's just so slow. She's a naturopathic doctor out of Portland. So I'm just going to surprise her. It's nothing like surprising your friends if we can add them in. And again, Ariel's at awakentotalhealth.com, and Ryan is with Quantum Health Apps. So he's actually the developer. I'm just trying to see if we can add her in. I'm having a really computer challenged IT team. I've tried to bring her in. It's just not dragging her in. But I'm going to send you the actual app link right now, so you can include that if you like. I think that's really important because, sometimes you have to have the experience on it. And to be able to, look at whatever we want to look at, is it your triple warmer, or just go into something and then just test it. I mean, I can play traditional Chinese medical doctor, and find out which, blockage it is, because maybe these people think they have diabetes or headaches, or they got pain of the upper extremities, or their shoulders are sore, when in actuality it's that meridian blocked. So I think that's really cool. And just the fact that we can, go in and do these kind of things are amazing. So I'll go grab you the actual link itself right now, but it will be through, and again, there's 2-3 of us doing this. There's quite a few. But Dr. Ariel Palacano, and then that way you get a naturopathic doctor, and she's got several free videos that you can train yourself and do it yourself at home if that's what you want to do. So this is what I like about this. This is about empowering people, and she's got extra libraries. And like I said, the last 5 years they've been putting things in as they've been able to identify, these are for new Androids. And like you said, how do you get this out? These Apple Genius, everyone's got Blackberries out here, all sorts of things. And this is what we can do for people, is actually go in and make it very easy. We already have that existing equipment. And so what you're just using is the application, but using it to do the frequency and check your frequencies. So if we keep it in tones of that, gosh knows, this is a Gnostic thing. We all know how to look after ourselves, and we don't need to have anyone telling us we don't, which is a diagnosis. It's a diagnostic. So we don't need to be dying to the knowledge. We still have it here in between all of us. We can certainly pull this off. That's why I'm so excited about this thing right now. So I'm just going to put that into the chat box here, and then you'll have that link. And I think it'd be, great to, do some stuff with her or whatever. And put that here. There we go. That's her information right there. So, that way people, once they've had their experience, or I've been doing 10-minute demos, actually. I've been spending my evenings talking to a couple hundred people every evening and doing just 10-minute demos like this, because I think it's that important that I'm actually volunteering and giving my time to do this and gifting my time, because everyone's starting to have an experience. And, you could be over there where you are, I could be over here across the planet, a world apart almost, and people can start having their experiences. And most people, I will tell you, probably I've done a couple hundred clients right now, and I would say only 2 or 3 of them haven't really felt it intensely because they're too busy talking. But if I get them to lie down, they are feeling it, Miles. And the fact of the matter is, not at all.
Well, Karen, I am a conversion. I had one of the early Rife machines, so I'm used to that technology. It makes a huge difference, and for this to be available on an app for this kind of work is really, really good.
It's revolutionary. It really is. It's evolutionary. This is something with her other library. So we're looking at infections, and we could be looking at something, let's say, with some people it could be weight, because I'm seeing a lot of methylation happening. I'm seeing the assemblage point on a lot of clients, and if it's a very rare term, most people, even most doctors, don't know about, but the assemblage point in the heart could be off, and so your whole toroid fields or your Merkabas can be off. The other thing too is it deals with physical, mental, and emotional, mitochondrial DNA, epigenetics, addictions, pH. We've tried to cover almost everything in here. A lot of people have been taking all that gluten. They've been taking the breads laden with that stupid Monsanto glyphosate and stuff. And I literally had, don't laugh, but I actually had one of the Monsantos get a hold of me. James Gregg Robert Monsanto himself. Something is happening. They were trying to get me to talk and hang out with them in Miami, and I don't think it's not going to happen.
This is one of the things in crop circle country is people are getting sick going into the crop circles because of the chemicals that they're putting into these formations. They're when they harvest a crop, they actually look at the chemicals and then look at that, electrical.
Which is really important too, and electrical sensitivities. Are we looking, and we're going to look for metal implants, by the way. All sorts of. Oh, you should see mine. I got to go see him. He's Dr. Edward Mahan here in Saskatoon. He's a naturopathic doctor. His whole practice is to taking out mercury fillings. He took at least, I think, 10 out of me. And that tells you the kind of damage. I had my tonsils taken out when I was 4. I still have core things of the gray nuns and the.
What was the purpose of that?
The purpose of what they were doing is they were, not giving us obviously clean food, or as people thought, the Canadian diet or whatever the hell they thought they were doing, or sad diets, whatever it was. They didn't know what they were doing. So a lot of our organs were, getting clogged up, earaches, that sort of thing. I still remember the Ducalox thing. So there must have been some digestive things or constipation. We see a lot of that with children too, by the way, that have been through MK Ultra. Like Kathy O'Brien, I actually met, there's a Beth Gooby here. We have our own Kathy O'Brien up here. And I met her at the Jazz Festival. And so a lot of children that have been taken, or boys that have been sodomized or raped or put into these Illuminati families, I'm starting to wonder what the flip all happened. So it's starting to almost sound like something similar myself when my children went through. And I'm really happy to report I'm getting back with Alexander with my boys. So we're just getting reconnections back. So, this is huge because we're having to deal with children and people that have been through this stuff. So a lot of this thing, with people, it's huge. You know what? Just as a mom and as whatever, it's like I spent the entire 20 years, from learning about the Martinsville case. That was out in the open. Ours was sealed. And they locked down our case for a large part of it with what was happening with the children and I. So to get Alex back right now and start dealing with him and realize what they were doing with these, pedophile rings and pornography rings and the Pizzagate rings, we lived through that. So I spent my entire career then learning about everything from Reiki Master to Matrix to therapeutic touch to herbology to oils, whatever it was going to take to heal these children, just like the residential children up here that were taken by the colonists. So I learned how to become a decolon hydrotherapist. I decolonized people.
Now, what happened there? Because Kathy Morgan around here's been checking a lot of stuff happening in the countryside not too far away from here.
Right. A lot of the stuff is like happening there. I'm finding out again through what Commander Brassard has shown me and what I've been able to talk with Beth and stuff like that, that these children and adults are still being taken to these satanic circles, and they are being taken underneath Saskatoon. And as most cities are, and this is on the deep underground transit system, just like I know you talked about Elon Musk and going for the Hyperloop. Well, come on. We all know they've got underground transit systems underneath the ocean.
That's unofficially official now.
Yeah, well, we've all known
or
of it.
As opposed to officially unofficial.
Pattie Brassard has been sticking the maps out for 4 years since, for crap's sake, since we've seen them. So I have the maps to this, and I know where we're sitting. Yep. And we've got lots of them. And you got some of these cities that are bigger than like New York, LA, Toronto, Vancouver, Chicago, all put together. So that's just one of their little hub cities down 400 miles down. Antarctica's really interesting. It's actually going green down there. I've been watching that, and it's kind of neat to see that. And there's a lot of things going down. Australia, we're able to see by Pine Gap, and we're seeing, actually, it looks like an RV UFO center down there. Something's going on. We're seeing the water being stolen. Where we had lakes and waters, the water's been drained by these, draconian. They're looking for the anchors and the tall grays, tall whites now.
That's not a fracking thing. Is the fracking sort of like almost a cover for that?
Yeah, a lot of time it is. Like when you see right next to me, like, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Kindersley, this is a huge, as they call the oil thing. But yeah, the fracking, I mean, that's the underlying clause, is to take all the water, right? You inject that stuff into the water system. You can see it around Suffield. And when I met with Paul Hellyer, the former Minister of Defence of Canada, and Grant Cameron, Stephen Bassett, Victor Bajagi was there, myself. It was the Modern Knowledge Tour with David Whitehead and Chris Visak here.
Now, who are those two guys? The other names I think a lot of people would know, but who are those two guys?
I wanted to bring them because they're the ones that were going to bring Michael Tsarian and stuff on tour here and get a lot of these people like...
You'll never understand Michael. He talks fast. He's a Belfast man. He'll talk faster than anybody. It's the way you tell him.
I've been talking to a whole bunch of guys over there, including the Alan James and Open Your Mind Ireland there. But no, they were the ones that put together the tours here. So when we met, we've got a huge base out here about 5 hours away, which is Suffield. But that's the American, Canadian, and British base. Actually, they're all together. They all hang out. You just come to a 3-way stop, and depending which base you go to.
These bases, the only reason the likes of Elon Musk and people are, being able to spy spaces in these places is because they've built something bigger, better, and totally invisible, like in their own time-space zone, like they're completely invisible. They don't have to have them in a base with towers and security gates and things, but there's some other technology. I mean, they're not giving these things away to the odd billion millionaire if there's something much better they've got available.
Yeah, this is exactly, we're getting just things dripped on, and we're dealing with a lot of stuff right now. I know Pattie's been busy trying to really reconfigure, if you want to say, the solar system, bringing in Tiamat. We're seeing some things tethering off and trying to shut down these, like what the Guardians in Ashiana and those people were putting out there with the Voyagers and these artificial timelines in portal systems. So Pattie's been spending...
Sorry, you mentioned Ashiana. What's the word on that? Because, I mean, in my opinion, what are you saying there?
Well, I've met her once about probably 8-9 years ago in Saskatoon. It was not a favorable meeting, and I don't like people that come in and start trying to mind control people. So it didn't go over well. She talked a little bit about grace and stuff like that and ley lines, and that's why I went. But it ended up being a one-woman drama show with her on the floor, being literally like girls were dripping like water in her mouth, like a drama queen thing. And really, now that I've seen and it wasn't her information to start with, because we did a huge thing with Alfred Laminat Weber at Exopolitics, Pattie and myself, and she had a fit, and Alfred had to end up pulling the video. YouTube pulled it because she didn't want anything to do with her copyright and trademark, which really wasn't hers to begin with. So I don't know I've ever looked. When I did some of the background research, all I could see is that there was a lawsuit. They were in a divorce thing, and it had to do with some of this information. But the bottom line is that most of it is falsified anyway, and they weren't the ones that originated the information to start with. So my thing is, like I say, that's the old stuff. We're just dealing with trying to get the new ones in. And Pattie is going to be talking heavy duty with that, because she's going to be talking, and I'll try and see if I can screen share here. We were just actually in a conversation actually on that, and one of the things that we were going into, we were just actually talking with someone not too long ago here about actually docking up and using an ecdoc to underdock stuff. So she's been decoding using some of the original alchemical tables and Micmac stuff and all sorts of things she's been explaining. This Stargate thing, and she'll go more into that, was actually the false timelines, the false Stargates and stuff like that. So she's trying to use this, and we were talking about Nushador, how to repair the DNA. So we're kind of going through a really quick thing. This is the Salmac and stuff like that, the Nushador. So if people really want to go take a look at some of this stuff, we can. And we're trying to get these things. She's been doing this incredible thing on trying to advise people as to how to reconfigure their lives, like through frequency, raising your vibration, getting alkalized, and that's what she wants to do. This is, different things that have been going on. That previous one where you saw the big blow up, that was actually Athena blowing up the South Pole, so down in Antarctica. So
there are people here that we know have been recalled in certain armies down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're... Yep. The security level on that seems to have gone pretty ballistic.
Well, it's no different than Fort Mac and some of the stuff that's up here, right? They've, getting people back up there, and the numerous fires, as people think British Columbia, but in my Mac territories and stuff, they've been trying to take the tribes and the local indigenous and native people out of those areas and reinstall their own stuff. The planefinder.net, anyone can go to online. I hear the constant planes going back, and they're unregistered, and they're obviously moving supplies. And Pattie's surmise is that basically she's been flooding and opening up the Omega basis and the other bases. The salt water's going into these underground cities, and it's just about 8 weeks in operations, as far as I know, when they started doing the flooding underground of the bases. That from the air we can actually see them turning red because the salt water's frying out the electrical. So the problem being is that where we thought there may have been maybe a couple hundred bases, it's in the tens, like just in thousands, and there's no way the forces could deal with all this kind of thing. So the next thing was to start changing the frequency on the planet, and to basically, like a dog whistle, put frequencies up that they can't tolerate. And, but the original people, and raise the consciousness and awareness of the humans here. So if we could start doing that, because the amount of bases, I'm surrounded by them up here, and as they're all coming up, we're on higher ground here. So that's some of the things here. But these are some configurations, just putting out to reteach people the original ways, the original quantum kind of medicines, languages, and stuff like that, the soul system, and different, as you would think, free energy and magnetic energy and stuff. So she's actually going to redo the soul system and put things into place. And that's actually where they're at right now. And to free the children. So a lot of the, bases we're holding children for breeding purposes, for food purposes, all sorts of things. So that's actually where my concern is, to free the children and to deal with things like that. No different than when I had to deal with my child, so.
Those children seem to be crying. Almost you can hear them.
Yeah. It's hard. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And I know, being disestranged deliberately, by their father and these Dracos, and whatever their past lives may have been, like connected to from Genghis Khan to whoever, but you start tracing their bloodlines, and it's all about the bloodlines, Miles. I'm totally on that. I was listening to your, was it with Shaddock, who was the woman that was there on the Basis program you just released? She was talking about how important it is, and as a clan mother, it's incumbent about me about teaching about telegony, like in Anastasia, because you cannot be mixing the bloodlines. And I mean, all these books, whether they talk about the rights to love or whatever we're going to talk about here in Anastasia, it's the same thing. You got to know bloodlines.
Is that the Russian series of books? Anastasia.
Yeah, Anastasia.
Anastasia.
Yeah, that's like my Babas and stuff by Fodordenko. Yeah. So that's why they call it The Ring and Cedars of Russia. But
yeah, the book 1 seemed to be a telepathic book.
It is. It actually, they all are. Yeah. And what they did, they talked about developing the new thing, and they released a new book. If you have to have one set of books in your life, this is it, actually. It's the one I recommend for the rest of your life. It's something children can do, or anyone could go. But there's a huge book, which is called Who Are We? And that's all about, and she talks about going to see or teleporting and creating that space of love, and actually teleporting to the different ET or alien areas and how to meet with the ETs. So it's talking about getting back to basics, whether we want to call it natural law or whatever it is that in telegony what happens is that
where do people get that book that you're referring to? You got The Ringing Cedars of Russia, and it's I think 9 books. How much have you? How much is in that?
Well, there's quite a bit in here. I mean, it's a miniseries, and the Russian is not the same as the other thing that Vladimir Meager actually, right? And then it was done the last, I think 9 books were done by Leonard Stolsky for doing the translation.
Yeah.
So
I have them. That's why. I'm thinking about where do others get those books.
That's what I'm putting up here. You can go to theringincedars.com, and also it's 1-888 dolmens, as in the dolmens, your sacred kin domain. But how to reset these up, and this is really what Patty and I are actually looking at. This is actually like doing Stonehenge again, and using the principles here that they use to transmute for radiation. And that's the kind of information that, again, Patty is the acting commander, chieftain of all the different tribes right now that's been authorized by the tribe mothers and the clan mothers right now. So we've basically appointed Patty into that role to assist with and facilitate with developing these new eco-friendly facilities that kind of are like an arcology or an Arkham, kind of like Noah's Ark. And it looks like Stonehenge. And we would use different composite, very specific crystals and minerals that would be put in with the cement to be radiation proof, and use lead glass and all sorts of very special things that we're not going to disclose. I know even Putin was trying to do that.
What do you mean by lead glass as opposed to unleaded glass?
Well, we want to use different composites in there to make it basically radiation proof and deflect that and transmute the radiation, because you're talking to radiation levels. They're not in a couple hundred. You're talking in some of these cities now that they're in like the tens of thousands. And that's why, like you said, you noticed your counter actually spiked this weekend, because, I mean, every time one of these...
It wasn't this weekend, about 10 days ago, but the point is Paget's group has put this alert out.
Yeah. Well, we put the alert out 3 years ago. Oh, it was serious, 2011. And, you got to remember, Patty was part of that group that was building the robots to actually work in Fukushima. So she had inside information. We have everything from before day 1 to when they were actually doing the explosions and where they put them.
I mean, to me, that whole thing was built from the word go to be a failure.
Well, there's nothing you can do now other than to re-blow it up and hopefully let it settle. But those are things that we need to transmute down the road. But the radiation is our biggest concern. To discern, really. Even here, I've got a nuclear facility called the Slowpoke in Saskatoon by the University of Saskatchewan, and I got an entire CERN ring like Geneva underneath it, blue there, underneath my feet. Talk about feeling uncomfortable, but this is where my children were, and this is where I had to come back to actually get them so that we can develop a relation again to get them out. You've got to have people awareness. So
those rings are really based on the Nazi bell. It's a scalar energetic device. It's not operating necessarily here. It's operating somewhere else. Is that right?
Yeah, and they can do some remotely, because we know what happened with CERN is sometimes it was taken over by a remote access, and this is what they've been trying to do, is find which bases are where they are. But when you've got thousands of bases, there's no way they can cover it all before September. And if they get basically the Project Looking Glass going up, which we're not going to allow that, so I mean that's our focus, is to get people as healthy and as vibrant as they possibly can. And so to me, this is where it's starting in on the root chakras, and that's why I'm going back to getting these. And if people need them, I found them rather than going on Amazon, because it's only got the 2-prong. We need 3 out here. But this particular one can be found at Red Tent Wellness.
Okay, what do you mean by the 2 prongs? You need 3. What does that mean?
Well, let me just grab this here. I went to order it initially, and I hadn't seen one. They were coming in from Asia, these, again, root chakra steamers, basically, that you use. And what it does is that when it came in from Asia, it's like a 220. It's got a 2-prong here.
Okay.
Have you ever seen these? They're just...
Yeah, that's a US plug. Was it? It's a European plug.
Yeah, well, we don't have that here. We have 3 prongs with a ground here. So we have 110. So those people, if that's what you need, it's on Amazon. And if you need the 3-prong, Red Tent Wellness has them. So because otherwise here, we have to use all the converters here, Miles. I have to use a step-up, step-down transformer for 500 up here to put it from 110 to 220. So these are the type of things, basically, that's why I'm using this. And I don't care for people that don't want to spend that. It's, I think, about $150. But these particular units, anyone can get a hot plate, for crap's sakes, and just get a crock pot or boil up some water. Just get it to simmering. Actually, don't want it quite, just under boiling. So if you can keep it 170 Fahrenheit rather than 212, it's better. But just get as many herbs and oils and salts, and just basically sit on a stool or like a commode and let it, just like a sitz bath, or let it sit up and start blowing it. But
if you're going to read the Times newspaper, that's the only Times newspaper, not the New York Times. You're going to need you're going to need a good Victorian commode.
Something like that. And seriously, because that's where a lot of these nanotechnology things are harboring. They actually get swallowed and they eat through, and they're actually physically, and we have them replicating. And if they're also transmitted through intercourse, or they're all sexually transmitted, by the way. I know why people didn't start talking about that, but these are the kind of things. So, I mean, we don't make this up. This is what they've been doing for thousands of years to try and disassemble these like pathogens. So it's been actually the most effective way for putting it in. You're going to get 60-70% absorption compared to, think you could take a little herb pill and it's going to go somewhere down, 4 stories down. I mean, that's just doesn't
with its mercury binder.
Exactly. Yep. And all the nanotech stuff. But, this is one of the things I wanted just to bring to people's attention. One is the radiation. 2 is that we need to get into a state of radiation ourselves. If we're having that inner oscillation or inner state of excitement, then we can be doing that. And I know if you can see behind me, it's my favorite little colon hydrotherapy chart. But the colon itself, what you're doing is the root chakra steam, is that you're actually steaming from the bottom up. And this is just a quick thing most people have never really realized here, but this particular chart here is that when you put like enema or something in here, this is actually your root chakra. This goes down to the bottom. This one here goes to the kidneys, so all the people with high blood pressure. This is what they call diabetes up here. This is anyone that's having trouble breathing in the transverse colon. This is all your thyroid up here. And then everything down here in the bottom here is actually your head. So as weird as that is, your head and your butt, the one first and seventh chakra all together there,